So this is the old version. This is the only one for some reason we can get online. So this is a TI-83 Plus. This is one we had, I don't know, I'm going to say we still have them, but these are all battery operated as opposed to the one that you have. We can just plug it in and it is charged. We don't have to replace batteries and stuff like that. So it's kind of like we put it into the charger, it charges, so it's nicer. So anyways, we are going to use something called the TVM solver. It stands for time value money. Okay, so TVM, time value money. And in order to get into it, you're going to go to your apps button, which is a blue button right here in the middle. Can you kind of see where my cursor is? Yeah. So we're going to go into the apps button right there, and then we're going to go to number 1 and then number 1 again. So you go apps, enter, enter. And then you're going to see a bunch of things. It should be NI, PV, PMT, FV, all of that kind of stuff. Everybody into that okay and see? Now, you will probably have different numbers in yours. That's fine. It doesn't matter. We're going to replace all the numbers anyway. So you can just leave them as whatever they are. You don't have to think you have to change them all to zeros or whatever. So the first one you should see on your screen is an N. N is going to be the exact same as it was in our annuity formula and our compound interest formula. So we are going to take it by how it's compounded. Okay, so N is going to work the exact same as it did in our formula. Number of years multiplied by how it's compounded. So I don't know if you want to make yourself a little note right here. Number of years times by compound. That's for N. So it's your number of years times compound. Yeah, so just a little reminder like that. Number of years times by how it's compounded. So if it's compounded semi-annually, we would take our years times it by 2. If it's compounded monthly, we would take our number of years and times it by 12. Your I, though, is different from your formula. Before in the formula, we had to take our interest rate, we had to put it as a decimal, and then we had to divide it by how it's compounded. We just write it as a percent. We don't even have to change it into a decimal. So if it's 5%, we literally put in 5. If it's 8%, we literally put in 8. If it's 5.5%, we literally put in 5.5. So the I, it does all the work for us. PV is the same thing as in your compound formula. It's the same thing as your P. It's what you're putting in. In your annuity formula, well, it's kind of different because that would be your R. So different than that. PV would be in your annuity formula. It's not there. So we can't do that. We can't talk about that one. It's your present value, how much you're putting in. Your PMT, it's the same thing as your R yesterday in our annuity formula. It's your regular payment. How much money you put in every month, every week, every year, every whatever. Okay? If we're putting in a lump sum, that regular payment is going to be 0 because we're not putting in payments every week, every month, every year. Okay? So if we do a lump sum payment, the compound interest stuff, our payment is 0 because we're just putting in a lump sum and leaving it there. Future value in your compound interest formula, that's the same thing as the A. And in your annuity formula yesterday, that's the same thing as A. So they just put it as PV for present value, FV for future value, as opposed to A and P. PY, MCY. So PY is your number of payments per year. Basically, you just want to think of this as how it's compounded. Okay, if it's compounded semi-annually, you're putting in 2. If it's compounded monthly, you're putting in 12. And CY is your number of interest periods per year. Again, it's going to be how it's compounded. So for today, these two are going to match each other. When we start mortgages, that's the only time these two will not be the exact same. And then at the very bottom of your screen, you should have an end and a begin. Make sure your end is always highlighted. What that is telling you is when you are making payments or whatever. So you're making them at the end of the month, you're making them at the beginning of the month, whatever. We just always leave it on end. Okay, so are we ready to use this? Okay. So we're into our graphing calculator. Remind me again, what does N mean? Yeah, and how do we find the number of payments? Years times compound. What do we do with I again? Interest rate as a percent. We don't have to do anything to it. PV, what we're putting in right now. PMT, regular payment. FV, future value, what we're going to have in the future. And what do I put in for my PYCY? However, it's compounded. Okay, good. We're going to be ready. When we go to solve something, look down on your enter button, your answer button. See above enter. See how there is solve and it's in green? Yeah, so you're going to have alpha enter in order to solve for something when we're ready. We're not ready yet. We don't have anything in there. But when we go to solve for something, that's how we solve. We go alpha enter, and that will solve for whatever thing on this list we're solving for. It's easy. Don't worry, guys. Okay, so let's start here. A student begins saving money for college by making regular payments of $150 into an account that earns 4 3/4% per annum interest compounded monthly. Determine the value of the annuity after 3 years. So you might want to write down again the key words here. Regular payments of $150, 4 3/4% compounded monthly after 3 years. So write that down. We're going to write down our TVM solver screen, maybe 2 examples, and then after that, we're just going to use it. I just want you to have a couple examples in your notes. Okay, so let's see if we can't put this into our TVM solver. Okay, so let's start with N. How many years is it going in for? So we're going to go 3. And what do we have to times that by? Why 12? Compounded monthly. So we're going to times that by 12. And then we can just press enter and it does the work for us. Okay, so on your TVM solver, you went up here. Okay, so if I go back up, this might have been like a 1 or something like that. So you're just going to go 3 times 12. Number of years times by how it's compounded. Press enter and it will do the work for you. Good? Okay, what are we going to sub in for I? Why 0.75? 3/4 is 0.75. So we're going to put in 5.75 for our I. Press enter. Sorry. That would be good if I put in the right number. Yep. Thank you. Okay, what is my present value? Okay, at the very beginning, how much money does he have in there? He has 0 at the very beginning until he makes that first payment. So we're going to put PV, present value, to be 0. What's your monthly payment? Okay, we're going to put it in as a negative number. The payment always goes in as negative. It's not literally, don't think of it as negative $150. Almost think of it as $150 coming out of your bank account because we're putting it in here. So it's not literally negative $150. This TVM solver just needs that PMT to be a negative number unless it's 0. Okay, future value. What's my future value going to be? We have no idea. So we're just going to skip that over. We're going to go down to PY. If you try to erase whatever number you have in there, it won't let you go down. So just put add number in if you've erased it. Josiah? Did you put negative or minus? Negative. Yeah. 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 Just leave it whatever it is. Like if you even had a number in there, it doesn't matter right now. Okay, what am I going to sub in for PY and CY? Why 12? Because it's compounded monthly. You're going to see as soon as you put in the PY, the CY will automatically change as soon as you press enter. It's kind of like they want to be the same. So go back up to your future value. And here's where we're going to go. Alpha, enter. Yeah. Yep.
Wait, why are you going up to this?
Because we're solving for the future value. How much? It says determine the value of the annuity in 3 years.
You go back up and then
Press alpha, enter. My suggestion, you guys, write this whole screen down so that you know what you did. Even on the 36, instead of writing down 36, I might go 3 times 12 equals 36. So that when you look back again, I'm only going to ask you to do this maybe once or twice. You have the entire screen written down so you can see where you subbed everything in for. Is everybody good? Everybody has $5,791? Perfect. Okay, so write that down on your piece of paper. Again, I'm only going to ask you to do this once or twice just so you can see exactly what you've subbed into the TVM solver screen. No, you can put in your answer for Effie. Yep. Everybody has that written down in your notes? Okay, so let's take a look at B. If the amount of the payment was changed to $200, how much would we have after 3 years? So change your payment to $200 a month. So what am I changing if I'm changing my payment to $200 a month? PMT, yep. So I'm going to go up to my PMT. Maybe. And what am I going to put in? Negative 200. Good. PMT always has to be negative. And then you're going to go down to your future value. And then what do we press? Alpha, enter. So instead of $150 a month, we're putting in $200 a month. And now we're coming out with over $7,700. So I'm just going to take little screenshots of this and put it in here so that I don't think we need to draw the box on this one. We'll just draw the box on a few of them today, just so we have a couple different examples in our notes, but I think this one's basically the same. Okay, determine the amount of additional interest earned using $150 monthly payments with our interest rate of 6% instead of 4 3/4%. So we're going to go back to the one where we had monthly payments of $150. But this time, instead of earning 4 3/4%, we're going to earn 6% interest. So we're going to go and change our monthly payments back to $150. So change your monthly payments back to $150. Everyone good? Okay, so I'm going to make my PMT negative $150. And I want my new interest rate to be 6%. So go change your interest rate to be 6%. So what did you guys do?
up to the I.
Go up to the I and put in a 6. And then what am I going to do? So I'm going to go down to future value and I'm going to go alpha, enter. Everyone good at getting 5,900?
Yep.
So thing to remember, you put in the same amount of money for the same length of time. And now just for that, and that's only 3 years, you made $110 more than the original. So again, if you are putting money into something, whether it's a GIC or a mutual fund or anything, make sure you get the highest interest rate you can. If you start to invest your money, whether you're doing it now because you don't have to go off to college or university for a year and a half, or if you're just doing it because you're saving up for a car in 5 years' time when you're done college or university, or whatever it happens to be, don't start at the bank you want to invest your money in. So start somewhere else and go and say, hey, I've got $5,000 to invest, or I want to start putting in this much every month. What interest rate would you give me? And then go to the bank you're working at and see if they'll beat it, or that you want to deal with, and see if you'll beat it. Usually at the very minimum, they will match it, but sometimes they may even want your business enough to give you a little bit more. So maybe you, like if you want CIBC, maybe you go to TD Bank and they say, hey, we'll give you 6%. So then you go to the TD or CIBC or whoever I just said you wanted to bank with, and you say, listen, I've gone to this bank. They're willing to give me 6% interest. What will you give me? And maybe they'll say, we'll give you the 6, we'll match it. Or maybe they'll say, well, we'll give you a 6.2% interest, or anything. At least that is good. Okay. You just want to make sure you do a little bit of shopping around and get the best interest rate when you are investing. Or if you are taking out the loan, shop around and get the lowest interest rate you can. Like, you don't just have to go to one bank and accept what they say. Okay, because banks want your business. Why do they want your business? Because they make money off your money. So if they want your money, they're going to be willing to do a little something for it. Sometimes the best they can do is match it. Sometimes they're going to say, I'm sorry, we can't do that. And that happens too. But you have to be smart with your money and try to get the highest interest rate. Okay, everyone good so far? Okay, we're going to take out a car loan. So we are going to take out a car loan for $15,000. So we're getting a nice car. They're going to charge us 5.25% interest per annum, which means per year. And it's going to be compounded monthly. So I want you to figure out what the monthly payment would be so that we could pay off that loan in 5 years. So at the end of 5 years, I don't want to owe them anything. Okay, what can I sub in for N? How many years am I putting it in there for? 5 years, and what do I have to do to the 5? Why 12? Because it's compounded monthly, so we're going to put in 5 times 12. What am I putting in for my I? 5.25 again. We just put it in like that. It does all the work for us. Present value. 15,000. That is what you are borrowing from the bank. So it's 15,000. PMT. Well, you can put a 0. We're going to solve for that. We're going to come back and solve for it in a second. Future value. 0. At the end of 5 years, how much do we still want to owe the bank? Nothing. So my future value is 0. And what's my PY and CY? 12, because it's compounded monthly. So we're going to go back up to PMT and we're going to go alpha, enter. Everybody okay getting $284 for your monthly payment? And again, don't worry about that negative. The negative just has to be in there. So on your assignment today and on your exam and stuff like that, I'm going to have a little screen exactly as you see here. Okay, so you can see this little screen on your assignment. So you're going to use your TVM solver and you're literally going to put everything right here you see in that little box. Okay, so when it says negative 284, you're going to put in negative 284. We know it doesn't mean negative money. It's just this program. That's what it needs to have in there. Okay, so you don't need to worry. Is it right? Is it wrong? If this is what it gives you, write that down on that part. So all of these questions you are doing on the TVM solver and by hand with formula sub in and answer. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to take a screenshot of this one and then we'll move on. Okay, using the same payments, how much faster would the loan be paid off if the interest rate was lowered by 1.5%? So we're still borrowing $15,000. We're still wanting to pay it off completely, but we want to figure out how much faster. So instead of paying it over 5 years, how many payments would we have to make? So what would I sub in for N? 0 is what I'm solving for, so I'm just going to leave it. What would my I be? Okay, so if you hate doing stuff in your head, you can go to the end and literally go minus 1.5, and it will do the math for you. So you don't have to go and do this off to the side. You don't have to do it in your head. You don't have to have another calculator. It will do that math for you, and you can just press 3.75 there. So nothing else changes. Let's go up and solve for N now. So what did you get? Did you get 57.6? So how much faster by having 1.5% lower? How much faster, guys? What does that mean? Hey.
What did you do that? I'm sorry.
So I did alpha enter for the N. We're solving for it. So change your I. So it was 5.25. You want to subtract 1.5 from that. So your new interest rate is 3.75. And then go up and solve for N. So go alpha enter on your N. Are you good getting 57.6?
Yeah.
So what does this mean, you guys? How much faster is it going to be paid off? So, almost. Let's say 2.5 to make things easier. So it's going to be paid off 2.5 months faster. Okay, 2.5 months faster means like, well, double that and a little bit more. So probably a little over $500 you're saving. And again, if you think of $500, that's a lot of money. And it's just by, again, maybe shopping around and getting that lower interest rate when you have a loan. Instead of just accepting the first interest rate, you go to the bank and say, yep, that's mine, I'll take it. Shop around, get the best one you can. So how much money exactly would be saved? So we know we're saving about $500. Can you find out exactly how much you're saving?
$47.50.
Can you tell me how you're doing that?
Because it's 2.5 months and it's 1,500 a month. I mean, 15,000 a month.
15,000 a month, really?
Oh no. Wait. Up the difference.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first
no.
one. This one here, we did
Oh, no.
60 payments of $284 and let's say 79 cents. So the first one, we did 60 payments of $284.79. That's the original way we paid. When we lowered our interest rate, what did we do? How many payments? 6 times 284.79. And what do we do with these two numbers? Subtract them. So what you can do now is you can just go alpha right here beside alpha is a quit. And then you go into your regular calculator. So go alpha, go into your regular calculator, and then you can do that math. You can just use it as a regular calculator. So go second mode right here. Sorry, second mode. Second mode. I said alpha. Yeah, second mode. Right beside it. Look at right here. These two.
You're so good.
And then it just goes into your regular calculator. So we're going to go 60 times 284.79 minus 57.6 times 287.79. Everybody good? Saving $510 and basically 70 cents? Everyone get that?
I didn't get you did 77 says 84.
Yeah.
Wait, did you wrong?
Yeah, no, I did it wrong.
Why is it so small?
That's everybody good with 683?
Yeah.
I put in the wrong number here. So you saved $683.50. Okay, $683 just by getting a lower interest rate. I can think of a lot of things I can do with $683. Okay, that if you're talking in terms of a car, that's a lot of gas money. If you're talking in terms of a car for you guys, that might be like half of a year of interest rates, maybe not even that much. Insurance, I mean, how much is your insurance for a year? You guys pay ridiculous amounts.
Like 300 something.
A month.
But that's for guys. Those are like a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, so that would give you maybe 2 months of insurance free. But again, it's better than not having it, right? So again, shop around for a lower interest rate when you are taking out a loan. Don't just accept the first one they give you. Okay, before we finish that, I just like to play for a little bit and show you guys some fun stuff. So let's go back into TVM Solver because this to me is so fun. Okay, so let's say you guys graduate from school at what, 21, 22, 23? Like 22?
Oh, you mean after high school?
I thought you meant.
Graduate college and university.
It'll be 22.
22. Okay, what age do you want to retire at?
40.
32.
25. I'm thinking 55 is pretty typical.
18.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so 55 minus 22. So you want to retire at 55 and you're going to start investing at 22. Let's leave our interest rate. Chris, you looked up interest rates yesterday, right?
Yes.
Were they 5?
5.5%.
5.5. So let's put an interest rate of 5.5%. When you're 22, you're going to have nothing in your bank account. Okay. How much money do you think when you're 22 you can start investing every month?
$3.
$50.
Sure. Let's start with $50. Okay. If we do that every month for, oh, sorry. I have to go back up here. I have to times this by 12. So if you just put in $50 a month, you'd have $55,000 in there. So that's not enough. So we're going to have to change that. So that could be good for the first little while, $50 a month when you just, how much? Want to go $200 a month? Okay, let's try 200, see what that would do. So $200 a month is going to get you $223,000 when you retire. So $250,000. So that's, what's that? You good? Okay, so that's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, if you want to be a millionaire, yeah, you'd have to put in almost $900 a month. So that's not going to be realistic. Yeah, but you're not going to have that. So that's not realistic, right? Well,
What if somehow
the average person can't afford $1,000 a month to put into investments, but because when you finish school, you're going to be getting a car, you're going to be paying off school payments, you might be getting like an apartment or a mortgage or something. It's just not realistic. I don't want to set you guys up with unrealistic expectations, but you can use this and try and figure out how much money. So instead of $1 million, what if we want $500,000? $500,000 to retire on is pretty darn sweet. That's going to get us a lot of fun in retirement. And that one is $450 a month.